So many of the voices of victims at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission were those of ordinary and poor women who had lost husbands and children.
I've lost a son in 1986 by the name of Victor Jeffrey Lope.
Loved ones who may not have been known beyond their block or neighborhood.
My son was killed by ANC.
I also lost a son.
Samuel Masilela.
His name is Samuel Masilela.
Mamelodi is a township near Pretoria, the nation's capital, the heart of the former apartheid regime. These women, like Tandy Shezi, joined a group called Kulimani, Zulu for Speak Out.
In 1986, on the 26th of June, my son disappeared from home.
They share the stories they will tell at the Truth Commission.
I had a little baby. She was about 3 weeks, the third one. When my husband never came home, it was on a Wednesday.
During that day, there came my younger sister who came and told me that my son was shot in Bondebel.
He used to tell me every now and then that, Mommy, when I'm big enough, after I've completed my school, I'm going to be a lawyer.
Maria Ntuli lost her son Jeremiah in a case referred to as the Neat Verdient 10. On June 26, 1986, 10 young men in their late teens failed to return to their mothers' homes that night. For 10 years, there were rumors they had gone into exile. For 10 years, Maria waited for her son's return. That's Jeremiah.
It's Jeremiah.
What's your last memory of him in your mind when he left that day?
He was busy in the room washing. After that, he dressed himself. He said to me, Mommy, I'll be back around about 10 o'clock in the evening. I said, where are you off to? He said, I'm going out with friends. And it was the last time I see him.
How old was he at that time?
He was 17 years old.
Everything has just...
Rudy Mpela works with Kulimani. He helped Maria and the other mothers prepare for testifying at the TRC.
During the night, he didn't come back. Then I started searching for him. Then I couldn't find him there. And Mama Stella told me that his son is not at home also. The children went missing on the 26th, the same day, all of them.
Soon after the Mamelodi mothers testified, a group of security police applied for amnesty for killing their sons. So you did not know what had happened to them really until the perpetrators applied for amnesty?
Exactly.
If it had not been for the Truth Commission, then you would probably...
Even today, nobody would have known what has happened to them.
It was a grim story the mothers heard that day.
Jeremiah Masela infiltrated a group of young activists in Mamelodi.
Brigadier Jack Cronia told how his team killed Maria's son Jeremiah and his friends.
To receive military training.
The boys were approached by a government agent posing as a friend of the liberation movement. He recruited them for special training across the border, telling them they too could become freedom fighters. It was a trap.
As they were taken out of the combi, the members of the military pressed them down to the ground and injected them with something. They were then put back in the combi. This combi was pushed down an incline, and then the combi was filled with explosives and blown up.
And why would they drug and blow up a van load of teenagers?
This was preventative. We had to eliminate them to prevent that they would come back as trained terrorists.
So they said that they thought your son and the others would grow up to become terrorists.
It's on record. That is what they said. It's on record at their amnesty hearings.
Were they to return as well-trained terrorists, then they could have struck anywhere in the Republic, and I wouldn't have known how to prevent them from doing so.
Sort of preventive assassination.
Exactly.
Do you have any idea where he's buried?
No, not yet.
You still want to know that?
I still want to know the place where is he buried.
In the spring of 1998, the Truth Commission took the mothers of Mamelodi to the place where their sons were blown up. There were no bones or remains to be found here, however.
That is our culture. You can't just throw a child's body away. He said, no, never mind. they can bury him where he is. Our culture, you must have the grave of your family next, just the way you live.
The name of the place, Niet Verdiend, means not deserving.
Holy Father, with this water, cool our hearts, our bodies from the heat of the sun. Christ, have mercy. Wash away the blood stains of those who have died unjustly, especially Abraham Makilane, Samuel Maslela, Sipho Sibanyoni, Jeremiah Ntuli.
It was a very important thing for us to go there. Oh, you know what made me angry? They didn't tell us the real truth.
Who didn't?
The perpetrators. What I saw where we have been the other day is not what they said at the hearings.
They described one thing at the hearings and you saw something else with your own eyes.
Yes.
What they said at the amnesty hearings is that when they took these boys to this area, they arrived at that place and then they gave these boys liquor. And after these boys got drunk, they sort of injected them with a poisonous solution. And then these boys died. And then what happened? They packed the combi with a lot of explosives inside. And they set it alight and they threw it down a ditch about 500 to 1,000 meters down. And so we were quite surprised only to find that it's a flat surface, like the table.
And what did that make you think?
They're still hiding something.
Reconciliation is in our hearts. It is only when we open our hearts to God, so that through His Holy Spirit He can move us.
Jeremiah sacrificed his life for this new South Africa. It's always going to be in my heart, that open space of my son.
I don't think I have to say I'm sorry. And I'm not going to say it for what I did. I'm sorry for the relatives and the victims, yes. But what I did, I'm not sorry about. Because I was doing my job and I thought it was right.
Brigadier Cronje gave the order to kidnap and kill Jeremiah Ntuli and his 9 companions in June of 1986.
Brigadier, you are still under oath? Yes.
He was commanding officer of one of the most notorious hit squads during the 1980s. They did most of their work around Pretoria. The nearby township of Mamelodi, where Maria Ntuli lives, became their killing field.
Of course, I was doing my duty, and I was doing it for the Nationalist Party, and as I thought, for my country. I thought I was doing the right thing.
Together, Cronje and 4 security police under his direction are applying for amnesty in more than 40 cases of torture, bombing, and murder.
I call Warrant Officer Paul van Vuren.
Paul van Vuren earned the nickname the Electrician.
We used a gas mask, assaulted him, and executed electrical shocks on him.
To gain amnesty, they must prove a political motive. They claim it was a time of war, and they were just doing what the government wanted. So you always took an action that you believed was an order from above?
Yes, we got orders from above.
Every time?
Not every time. But we had you can call it a blanket authority to do that.
And that would come from?
From headquarters. I knew what they wanted. And it was impossible for them to give a specific order every time we had to do the job. I mean, I knew what was going on in my division, so the other people. I knew who was the activists, and they couldn't give me an order for each and every one.
I kicked open the door of the bedroom he had fled into. The light was on, and I started shooting at the man. I killed him.
We grew up in a certain way that to us the blacks were communists.
I taught that in the police college.
What did they teach you?
Well, there's definitely apartheid, and we must see that the blacks don't overrun the country and don't take the country from us. And then a man like P.W. Botha stands up and he says, eliminate them. And now he's saying that we didn't understand the meaning of the word eliminate.
What did you think when you heard that?
Eliminate. It's only one answer that and meaning to that, and that's kill him.
That's how the order would come to you, eliminate.
Yes.
And you knew that everyone understood the word meant to kill.
Of course. There's no other meaning for the word.
Reason for this was to protect innocent policemen and also to eliminate activists and terrorists involved in serious crimes.
Probably 90%, probably more than 90% of all the cases in terms of human rights violations and amnesty cases before the Truth Commission happened between 84 and 90.
1984 and 1990, just 6 years?
Just 6 years.
Recent history.
Those were the years of P.W. Botha. And that's the other part of the big picture that I think is very important to understand.
The 1980s, the white government declared a state of emergency, which was met by increasing defiance from the black townships.
As long as the people behave themselves, there won't be any problem from the security forces. They must disperse peacefully.
Persons have been shot at, some fatally,
As the demands for democracy grew more aggressive, the government of P.W. Botha cracked down, openly and secretly. So there's no doubt in your mind that during the 1980s, the government was carrying out an all-out war against blacks.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. The government in the 1980s, there was, the police especially, were above the law. I have no doubt in my mind that they knew that the top structure of the leadership of the black resistance had to be killed and humiliated and tortured and harassed, and they were.
The type of person whose elimination was decided upon, could you tell us? It was normally a high-profile activist or terrorist.
On Monday this past week, 5 senior security policemen applied for amnesty at the Truth Commission.
You will find his application.
At their amnesty hearings, Jack Cronje's team revealed that their favorite working hours were late at night.
At approximately 1 a.m. that morning, we initially attacked the house with stun grenades.
Their favorite accessories were ski masks and gloves. Their arsenal could include everyday material.
There were 2 wires coming from the telephone. You took that and you connected it to the person, to his feet or hand, and then you turned the crank and you put electrical shocks through him.
They planted weapons on dead victims to make them look like terrorists and provided booby-trapped hand grenades to unsuspecting activists who blew themselves up.
Brigadier now General van der Merwe gave me express instruction to use the hand grenades and to make these available to activists in order to eliminate them.
In dealing with the unconventional strategies from the side of the government, I want to make it clear from the outset that within my knowledge and experience, they never included the authorization of assassination, murder, torture, rape, assault, or the like.
F.W. de Klerk, the last president under apartheid, tells his version of history at the Truth Commission. However, his predecessor, P.W. Botha, in power during apartheid's most brutal years, defies a subpoena to appear.
Reconciliation Commission, they want me to apologize. I'm not prepared to apologize, not for...
I stand before you today neither in shame nor in arrogance.
F.W. de Klerk does apologize.
I and many other leading figures in our party have already publicly apologized for the pain and suffering caused by former policies of the National Party.
But he distances himself and his party hierarchy from atrocities committed by the security forces.
There was never any reference that I can recall in any way whatsoever of our policy being using terrorist methods. Yes, firm action, yes. Using and applying extraordinary measures. Yes, going underground. Yes, spying. Yes, having covert actions. Having a state of emergency. Putting people in camps without trial. All that, yes. But not murdering people, not assassination. It was never part of the policy. And
so after you committed one of these acts for which you're seeking amnesty, did any of your superiors congratulate you?
Yes, sometimes.
You'd go back and say, job is done?
He'd phone you and say, the people who got hurt, that and that side, was that you? So he said, yes. I said, good work.
On the 27th of June 1986, 10 youths who'd been lured into leaving the country to receive military training from MK were killed by members of the security police and special forces. Their bodies were placed in the vehicle they were using and was blown up.
The commission challenged de Klerk about the specific killings of Siphiwo Mtimkulu, the Pepco 3, the Craddock 4, and Maria Ntuli's son and his 9 friends.
These are the incidents with regard to which I said this morning, the recent information of atrocities I find as shocking and abhorrent as anybody else. It came to me as just a shocking revelation as to anyone else.
I think that's one of the biggest disappointments of this whole process, was when people like F.W. de Klerk, the former state president, stood there and said, I acknowledge now that these things happened, but I did not know at the time, and I certainly did not order it. And it's not true. It is not true. I personally told them about the police death squads in 1989.
You did?
Yeah.
As a reporter?
Yes.
You had investigated them?
Yes.
And you went to the president?
We gave the president, then it was still Bush, and after that when it was de Klerk, we gave them the evidence, and then we published it.
We are dealing once again here with allegations made by people in amnesty applications who are trying to pass the buck.
Did you feel betrayed?
Of course I feel betrayed. I mean, they're making us act as criminals, and we're not. If we didn't do what we did, they wouldn't have been in power for one day. We kept the Nationalist Party in power.
Brigadier, was there ever a time that an order came down and you thought about it and said, I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that?
I could have said no to any of these orders. I could have refused to do it, but what would have happened to me? I would have retired as a constable. So I just had to do it, and I felt I was doing the right thing.
Whilst one says yes, the leadership has to take a great deal of the blame. All human beings are moral creatures. Each single human being has to say that I have to take responsibility. If I'm told, go and murder, and it's not the same thing as go and fight and maybe kill in the process of fighting, but go and murder, go and be part of a hit squad. They did. They carried out quite dastardly acts. They have to take responsibility.
We've heard a lot of evidence about how you people went into houses and you saw some person there you didn't know, so you killed them.
Dit is correct, ja. Ons het sulke getuies gehoor.
Yes, we have heard evidence to that effect.
Isn't it important to find out who was in a house? How many people were there? Whether there were innocent people there? Or did you intend to kill everybody you found?
Nee, dit was nie ons bedoeling om almal dood te maak.
No, that was not our intention.
Soos ek sê,
It was our intention to eliminate the policeman.
Te elimineer.
Was it hard to go public? What about your family? Do they understand?
I don't think, I don't think they understand quite what was going on, but...
well, they never knew what we were doing.
They never knew what we were doing.
You couldn't go home and talk about it?
No,
of course not.
So, at the end of the day, I think it's got the impact on them is traumatic. And, like they're looking to you through new eyes, you're a totally different person for them now.
Today, I am uncertain as to where I stand and how I ended up in the position which I currently find myself in.
And for many, it's been the first time that their families have heard that my husband, my father, who would get up in the morning appearing to be doing a normal job of work, would actually be going to an office where he tortured people. And quite a few, it's cost them their marriages. It's costly.
So making the truth public is a form of justice?
Absolutely.
The death squad operatives who wreaked such havoc with the hearts and lives of the Kulumani women were taken to court in 1996. This may have motivated their amnesty applications.
I can't forgive them. And then they don't tell me, they never came to me and tell me, we have killed your husband. They tell the commission because they don't want to go to jail. That's what I think of them.
Do you think they're getting off?
They are getting off.